Alright, viewers, finally we have gained access into the Awka Master Plan being designed for 2009 to 2027 by the United Nations Habitats. So, cry no more, we are going to see the content of this master plan, but I bet you that the master plan is about 106 pages. You can see that it's quite voluminous. So, but I'm going to try as much as possible to summarize what is contained inside the Awka Master Plan and its environs. So, but before we delve deep into the issue, we are going to explain what a master plan is, because severally, people talk about Awka Master Plan, whether it's there or not, including myself. So today we are going to talk about what is a master plan before we go into the Awka Master Plan itself. Also, I tried as much as possible to find out if this master plan includes the type of drainages, maybe landscaping, and the other things that I think they are supposed to contain. But to my surprise, all these things were contained inside the master plan. So can we just start with what a master plan is, so that we can refresh our minds and follow the right paths? And I say that the master plan of a city is a long-term planning document that acts as a blueprint for how the city will grow, function, and look in the future. Well, in terms of Awka, there is a master plan that was designed by United Nations Habitat that will run from 2009, when it was designed, to 2027. We are going to come into that in details. So generally speaking, what do you expect to see in a master plan? You expect to see the land use plan, transportation plan, infrastructure plan, environmental and green spaces, urban design, economic growth areas, future projections. But when I talk about land use plan, I'm referring to designates where residential areas, commercial centers, industries, schools, hospitals, and government institutions will be located. That is for the land use plan. Then transportation plan outlines roads, flyovers, railways, airports, bus terminals, walkways, and traffic systems. This walkway sweet me. Then infrastructure plan covers water supply, power, waste management, and drainage system. That is for infrastructure plan. Then environmental and green spaces talk about parks, recreational areas, waterways, and conservation zones. Aside that, we talk about urban design, zoning, buildings, codes, and beautification projects. Then under economic growth areas, talk about location for markets, industrial hubs, and business districts. Then finally, the future projections, population growth, housing needs, and expansion areas. These are the things you expect to see in a properly designed master plan of a city. So, but as it is now, I will still give the structured plan for Awka and Satellite Town. That's the executive summary of the structured plan for Awka, which will include the problems identified, vision and objective, action plans, major proposed projects, then implementation phases. There are phases of this plan. It was segmented into different years. I will tell you guys that. Then challenges and gaps noted. So these are the things we will come into. But before that, let me give the map-based summary. That's the structure plan for Awka Satellite Town by UN Habitat 2009. Then we have on the list, number one is a master land use zoning map. That's the core map. What it shows It shows the distribution of major land uses across the Awka Capital Territory, residential, that's the low, medium, high density areas. Then it also shows the commercial nodes, industrial areas, institutional zones, which include schools and hospitals, and open and green spaces. So the key takeaway from this is that Awka is planned as a multi-nucleic city with Awka, Amobia and Umobu as primary cores. Then residential clusters are concentrated close to core nodes, while heavier industry is sited on the periphery to minimize conflict with housing. Then large contiguous green open spaces are reserved to protect drainage corridors and provide recreation. Well, if you are so much interested in this topic, you need to follow me closely so that you get the key points. I told you guys that the plan is about 106 pages, so I've tried as much as possible to summarize the content so that we can get the actual content of that book, of that plan rather. Then transport and road hierarchy map. Then what it shows is the proposed primary through secondary road network, radial, inner ring, outer ring, stroke bypasses, then major arterial link to nearby towns, proposed bus stroke motor park locations, and the key junction upgrades, flyovers, grade separations, and the rest. Then the key takeaway from this is a concentric ring plus a radial model, inner ring to ease city traffic, that's inner ring road to ease city traffic, outer ring stroke bypass to divert into city flow, then reduces congestions through central Awka. Then talk about the proposed link road to Onitsha/Nnewi and to satellite known areas, indicating future corridors for dualizations. Then prioritizes corridors for public transport and designated motor parks to reduce roadside trading on major arterials. Well, in this discussion, like I said, it's just summary. I cannot start mentioning these things in locations one by one, but for us to know that these things are contained in the UN Habitat Master Plan of Awka 2009. Then talk about the public facilities through institutional map. The location earmarked for hospitals, tertiary institutions, primary, secondary schools, public administration, that's government house, civic centers, police, and the fire service. The key takeaways are the institutional services are dispersed to ensure local access within reasonable distances. Then walking, cycling, catchments, provision for a state teaching hospital and linked medical clusters, like support for Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University Teaching Hospital expansion. Then the utility and service map, that's water, drainage, and waste. It shows existing and proposed means for water supply, major drainage channels, food plans, mapping and proposed locations for waste transfer and treatment facilities. Then the key takeaways includes drainage corridors are protected as green corridors. This is vital given Awka's historical erosion/drainage problems. The plan calls for phased water supply improvement and centralized waste handling to reduce open dumping. So another part of that Awka plan is the environmental constraints and the hazard map. What it shows is the area prone to erosion, natural drains or natural drainage paths, high risk and flood areas and steep slope that should be protected. Steep slopes that should be protected. Then the takeaways, the plan identifies erosion hotspots, to be prioritized for control works. Development is restricted, unconditioned in these zones. Then recommends buffer zones along gullies and integrated erosion control measures, tied to road and housing projects. Then another aspect of that plan is the urban expansion and phasing map. The urban expansion and phasing maps talks about short-term, medium-term, and long-term development plans, which neighborhood and infrastructure project to prioritize 2010 to 2014, 2015 to 2019, then 2020 to 2024, 2025 to 2027. These are the segments that I was referring to, when it comes to this plan. Then the key takeaways: the early phases focus on core infrastructure, that's primary roads, drainages, basic amenities. Later phase focus on higher order investment, bypass, large-scale housing, industrial estates, useful for budgeting and tagging public-private investment. Well, another aspect is the satellite towns and the regional connection map. What it shows is the spatial relations and the transport links between Awka and neighboring towns like Enugu Agide and Nnewi and the rest, how to connect them. Then the key takeaways encourages a regional development approach. Awka has a capital nodes with satellite towns integrated through ring and radial corridors, reducing pressure on central Awka. Well, the overall visual summary, that's one line, is the United Nations Habitat Plans, frames Awka as a multi-nucleic ring and radial city with protected green corridors and phased infrastructure delivery, prioritizing road hierarchies, drainage protection, public facility close to community, and control expansion into satellite towns. So like I said when I was starting this video, a city master plan always include the type of design of the drainage system, whether underground, that is covered drainage, or surface open drainage, because drainage is a critical part of urban infrastructure planning. Then in the case of Awka's master plan, let's go deep into it, and I'm going to explain what is contained in this Awka master plan about drainages. Yes, underground drainages, that's covered concrete or covers drainage, is preferred for city centers, highways, and high-density areas to prevent flooding, improve aesthetics, and protect against refuse dumping. This is what the United Nations Habitat Plan for Awka, this is what it stipulates about drainage system. It says that the underground drainage, that is covered concrete or covered drainage, is preferred for city centers, highways, and high density areas. That's what it says. And he said this to prevent flooding, improved aesthetics, and protect against refuse dumping. Is very clear. And what the plan also talked about concerning open surface drainage. The plan said that the open surface drainage may still be used in less congested or peri-urban areas where costs are lower and maintenance access is easier. That is what the master plan said. Then going further, what the structure plan for Awka and Satellite Town United Nations Habitat 2009 to 2028, what he said about the size of the drainage. The plan mentioned standard specifications for road and drainage design in newer residential areas. Recommended drainage design and drainage dimension is 1.0 meter by 1.2 meters. That's for drainage channel for open drains. Just like sometimes when I see some of the open drains, like that of the road that leads to the new government house, it's very obvious that that drain is too small. Don't need to even see this document to know that that drain is very small. But however, it does not mean that it will not serve, but we are talking about standard. There are so many things that have been looked into consideration before giving a particular standard. So we are not done yet though. We are not done yet. There are other things we need to talk that may include the challenges that we are having and the rest. But this development that incorporates the Anambra State government and the United Nations Habitats, that covers Awka Capital Territory and satellite towns with a horizontal plan of 2009 to 2028. That's a 20 years plan. It aimed at guiding urban growth, preventing slums, providing infrastructure, and improving living standard. So there are problems identified, just like I said, about this plan. The problems include the rapid urbanization causing outer growth, urban sprawls without proper planning. Without even going into this plan, I've said this thing before, that development in Anambra State is very fast, that the government is not meeting up with development. There are so many places that people are living in clusters. You see buildings lined up, but there is no road, asphalted road for more than 10 years. There are 20 years. It's nothing like road, but you see 5-story buildings, 6-story buildings springing up everywhere around those places. There are many of them. Then poor drainage. Another challenge is poor drainage. Another problem is poor drainage, traffic congestion, inadequate sanitization, uncontrolled street trading, waste management issues, and the rest of them. Then existing infrastructure lagging behind in roads, water supply, health, and educational facilities. That is what the United Nations Habitat said. However, there is this aspect, I don't know if I specifically mentioned it when I was starting, which is the major proposed projects. Though the other one I said I break them down, but this one is looking at it holistically. We talk about slum upgrading in crowded areas, especially that of Ifite and around the Koka axis, provision of motor parks, bus routes, and taxi services to manage transport demands, beautifications, talking about landscaping, monuments, traffic lights, open spaces in neighborhood. So these things are captured in the Awka Master Plan. How many places have we been, landscaped in Awka City? How many places? What about the monuments? Maybe recently, traffic lights, okay? Open spaces, where are the open spaces? Well, development of institutional amenities like schools, health centers, modernization, and staffing. Plan for inner ring roads, radial roads, bypass around Awka to ease congestions. But earlier I made mention of implementation phases. the plan devise suggestions into phases. Then we will try as much as possible to know the phase we are now. Then the phases are the 2010 to 2014 phase, 2015 to 2019 phase, 2020 to 2024 phase, then 2025 to 2027 phase, which is the phase we are now, just with space of 3 years or 4 years in phases. Then early phase focus on mapping, urban layout, open spaces, basic amenities. Later phases include more complex infrastructure, road network, bypasses, then further expansion. Yes, I said that there are challenges to this roadmap, that is the Awka Master Plan. The challenges and the gaps noted include some portions of the plan are not yet implemented. Development have overtaken parts of the plan. Enforcement has been weak in many neighborhoods. Illegal structures, encroachment, and lack of compliance remains a major problem. So, but our discussion did not end here. We move further to find out the agency that is responsible if this plan is not implemented. So this is the findings of using Awka as our focus, because we are talking about Awka Capital Territory. Then for Awka Master Plan, the main institution responsible for implementation is the Anambra State Physical Planning Board. That's the ANSPPB, working alongside the Awka Capital Territory Development Authority. These are the two major people mentioned that are supposed to ensure that this plan work out the way it is. But let's continue. Because what if these people are doing their best to ensure that this plan work out? Remember that there is still the governor that makes the final decision. So what happens if the governor says no, that he will not do it this way, he will not do it the other way? So, but let's move into little details of the Awka Capital Territory and the Physical Planning Board. So these two institutions are charged with the responsibility to ensure that these plans are implemented. The Awka Capital Territory Development Agency or Authority, created by the Anambra State government to oversee planning, zoning, drainage, road layout, and the infrastructure in Awka Capital Territory. Its mandate include enforcing the Awka Master Plan to prevent unregulated developments. So it is their job. From time to time, they are to move around and to mark any structure that is not within the plan of Awka Capital Territory. That job is not a small job. It's not a job for people that are not focused, people that are not determined. But I know the Awka Capital chairman. I have met him one-on-one. He's a man of vision. He's a man that knows his job. But I bet you that these things are not easy, especially where funds are part of the problems. So, but we know that things are very difficult these days. So, but that shouldn't mean that we'll compromise, our standard. So, but the bottom line is that man, Osi Onuko, has been an active person, and I know he's doing his best. Based on that day I met him, from what he said, the interview is still on this channel. He's very focused and he knows what he's doing. So let me not just dwell on that. Let's move to the core details. Then its mandate includes enforcing the Awka Master Plan to prevent unregulated development. What about the Anambra State Physical Planning Board, that the ANSPPB? They are responsible for broader urban planning and development control across the state. They works with the United Nations Habitat Recommendation from the Awka on each and every structured plan of 2009 to 2028. Then also there's another agency here, that's the Ministry of Lands, Physical Planning and Rural Developments. Provide policy oversights, approvals and suspensions. Then another big question I need to ask myself is that, or we need to ask ourselves, what happens if these people did not do their job? If they don't do their job, what happens? So, but like I said, what happens if they don't do their job? If ACDA or Physical Board neglects enforcement, or the governor or state executive council can dissolve, restructure, or sanction the agency. Then let me say this thing again. If ACDA or Physical Board neglects enforcement, the governor or state executive council can dissolve, restructure, or sanction the agency. Then there is legal consequences to this. There is legal consequences. The master plan is backed by law. So this master plan is not just something that came into existence. It has legal backings, if you don't know. So failure to enforce can lead to lawsuits, example, developers or residents challenging illegal constructions. State Assembly has oversight powers and can summon the leadership for negligence. So we are going to be wrapping up this discussion for today, and if you are patient enough to reach here, I say kudos to you, for you have done wonderfully well. It means that you have Anambra State at heart, and there is no two ways about it. So in conclusion, the United Nations Habitat Plan frames Awka as a multi-nuclei ring and radial city with protected green corridors and phased infrastructure delivery, prioritizing road hierarchies, drainage protection, public facilities close to communities, and control expansion into satellite towns. So with this, I'll call it a day until I come your way next time. I say bye for now.